Welcome to Alpacamade. I'm so glad you stopped by. It is Monday, May 11th. Happy Mother's Day to you. If you missed the show on Thursday, I wish you an early Happy Mother's Day. I hope you had a wonderful weekend with those you love. Today, we are going to start our summer ferment. We actually got a jump start last Monday, and I'm going to give you an update and something a little experimental. So why wait? Let's start with the experimental. Apple cider made from last year's wrinkly but not damaged apples and old sour kombucha. For this, you need a 2-quart jar. You want to fill the jar 2/3 to 3/4 full with apple slices. Take the seeds out, but that's all you have to do. Core, peels, all just jam it all in there. 1 to 2 cups of old sour kombucha, 4 tablespoons of plain white sugar. Dump it in there and then top it off with dechlorinated water. If you're using a paper towel or a coffee filter, you want to make sure you don't get those wet. Otherwise, cover it with a cloth. It has to be breathable. Stick it in the cupboard for 4 to 6 weeks, and you should have some pretty good apple cider vinegar. You remember from last week, I started my Jun back up, and the first batch is not always good. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just not a very bubbly brew. So instead, I took my Jun and refreshed it this morning with fresh honey and fresh tea. And what I poured off instead of throwing it away, I made elderberry flavored Jun, about about 3/4 of a gallon of it. So I'm going to be drinking it for a minute. But the reason I did that is because when I made elderberry syrup last week, as you might remember, I had about 4 or 5 tablespoons left over, and I could not bring myself to throw it away. So I loosened it up a little bit with some warm water and dumped it in the Jun. Now, I am not fond of the taste of elderberry syrup. It's good for you. It's full of good stuff. It's good for, keeping you healthy. So this was a good way for me to salvage both the leftover early Jun and the elderberry syrup. But wait, there's more. Oh, I love saying that. So on the left-hand side, you see waterkeifer grains that have been soaking in molasses water. Whenever your waterkeifer grains don't seem like they're performing up to snuff, or if you're trying to perk them up from being dormant, a tablespoon of molasses, unsulfured molasses, in your brewing water or in your fermenting water will perk them up and get them going again at just through one cycle. You don't want to drink that. I don't know. If you like molasses water, drink it or use it in cakes or cookies or something. But you would just discard it otherwise. And then on the right is a smaller batch that's been in sugar water, and you can see they're almost transparent jelly-like blobs. Think that stuff that you use for flowers. You dump that stuff in water and it turns to like jelly. Well, that's what this stuff looks like. I want to say one more thing about fermented beverages, and this goes for anything you ferment. When you have a diet of, packaged food, processed food, that kind of thing, you're lacking some of the nutrients that you find in fermented foods. And those nutrients and probiotics are essential to digestion and good gut health. If you're going to choose to start drinking fermented beverages, my suggestion is you start with waterkeifer. It is the least complicated ferment, in my opinion. All it takes is these live cultures, white sugar, and water, and it will convert the sugar over 1 to 2 days. In the summertime, it can be as little as 18 hours if it's really warm. All right, turning the page. This is the mobile, unpublished version of a store site that I am constructing. Don't quote me on those prices, they might change, but I thought that my subscribers would like to have a heads up that there is a store site in the works. I've had this store site on SquareUp for a very long time, probably, I don't know, 5, 6 years. Never did anything with it, even though it was live, never promoted it. And the reason I put this site up is because I lost my Amazon affiliate link. And so I had no way of showcasing products that I thought were valuable and useful. And so that is the point of putting up my own store. I have control over it. It's not traffic dependent like an Amazon affiliate is. I want to give you 3 references to sort of give you extra material to do your own research. And the first one is 8 evidence-based health benefits of kombucha tea. I'm not going to read the whole thing. This article is found on Healthline, and you can use the link in the show notes for this article as well as the next 2. So it just basically talks about probiotics as a potential source from kombucha, which we've already talked about. The next one is, can apple cider vinegar and cherry juice treat arthritis? And we're going to look at that just briefly. In this case, you can either put cherries in with your apples when you're making your apple cider vinegar, or if you already have apple cider vinegar, as in my case, I'm going to do what would be considered a double ferment. After I make my apple cider vinegar, I'm going to take the apples out and then I'm going to put in cherries. I don't have measurements for you for this. I would say that a cup of cherries, if they're dehydrated, is probably a good place to start for a gallon of apple cider vinegar. If you're making a half gallon or a quart even just to try it out, then cut those down, half cup for a half gallon, maybe a third of a cup for a quart, and give it a try. You're going to ferment it just like you did apple cider vinegar, 4 to 6 weeks. Be in a cool, dark place. And I'm going to do that and we'll see what happens. I do know that cherry juice is good for reducing the type of inflammation that comes with arthritis, especially osteoarthritis, but rheumatoid arthritis has also shown some positive effects. And I want to say right here, I'm not a doctor, so please do your own research. But if it works and it comes from food, not pills, hey, give it a shot. My regular subscribers might remember this graphic. It was the thumbnail and the featured graphic for a show that was produced for March 20th, 2020. And this is exactly what I said to you back then. I said to you, fight back. The reason I said that back then is because I knew that the enemy was not a virus. I knew that the enemy we were fighting was fear. Fear of being sick, fear of losing loved ones, fear of shortages. If you remember back then, that was like the 4th week of people buying toilet paper and stacking it to the ceiling. If you look at the playlist section of my channel, I have created playlists galore for exactly this reason. The very first one, the difference between, it's DIY health, the difference between bacteria and viruses, and there's a few other videos in there. Gardening, there's only one because underneath is a saved playlist with currently 41 videos in it on how to grow your own food. If you have a patio and some buckets, you can grow your own food. You can find out how to fight back. If you have a suburban yard, plow every inch of that up except for the place where the grill and the picnic table is, and plant food or put in raised beds. There is a playlist with things that I found wise. You know I'm a believer, so that's my perspective. There's a DIY list for how to make things yourself that's always getting added to. So I want to encourage you to fight back. Take control of what you're able to. If you don't know how to do something, look it up on YouTube University while it's still available. If not, ask somebody that you're already following. Ask them, can you do a video on how to make an overhead rig, for example, to shoot video myself? Or this one that's the first one in the DIY playlist, how do I manage 50 feet of rope so I can train my dog to do whatever? That's all I have for you today. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Until I see you again, God bless you. I hope you stay in good health. Thanks for stopping by.